Good afternoon everyone, my name is Shivam and today I stand before you to present myself on the topic Hlookup and Vlookup in Microsoft Excel. So till now we have attended so many classes and we have learned about Hlookup and Vlookup as well. So these are the two functions which are very helpful in retrieving data from a large database. So let's move ahead. So what is Vlookup? V in the Vlookup stands for vertical lookup. So as you can see, it searches for a specified value in the first column of dataset and retrieves information from a defined column. It means that you select a column from which you want to retrieve a data and then you define what data are you going to retrieve. This function is essential for efficiently pulling data from large data sets, making it critical for data analysis and management. Beside this text, you can see the picture which gives a typical example of a Vlookup function which has been implemented. Now let's move next. Up next we have syntax of Vlookup. So there are 4 parameters which must be considered while applying the Vlookup function. The first is lookup value, which means the value to search for. Example, let's say you have created a table wherein you want to look up for a product. So you enter the column. The next is table array. It means you have to select the entire data from which you want to retrieve the data. From cell A1 to cell D100 as in the case of this example. Up next, the column index number. The value which you are searching for, you must specify its column number. Either it's 1, 2 or 3 or whatever in according cases. Next up is range lookup. It also gives you an idea if you want to search for the exact value or an approximate value close to the value you are looking for. Moving next, we have overview of Hlookup. Now Hlookup stands for horizontal lookup, which means it helps you retrieve data similarly just like Vlookup, but in Vlookup we are looking into a column, but in Hlookup we will be looking into a row. Besides this, you can see the standard example of a Hlookup function which has been applied. You can see the Hlookup syntax. It is pretty much very similar to the Vlookup. The only thing is here you have to enter the row name instead of the column name. Now let's move to the practical part and then we'll come back to this. So as you can see on the board, we have a table for an example. Now since the table here is very short, so if you are going to search for a data, then you can simply look up for it. But what if the data set is very large? Say if you have 1000 employees, then it will be very difficult to scroll down to the 1000th row or the column. So here we will apply Vlookup to retrieve data efficiently. And let's see how we do it. Let's say we have to look up for an employee name using his ID. So you first select the 2 columns, you copy it and you paste it nearby. So here in employee name, since you are going to look up for employee name using the employee ID, we will write the function in employee name field. The syntax is equal to Vlookup, then you open parenthesis, then lookup value. It means where you are going to enter the detail and so here we will be entering the detail. So we will enter its reference. It is L7, you can see. So we enter L7. Up next, it says enter the table array. So for ease and convenience, we select the entire table. Here we are just taking the relative reference. If you want to make it absolute, you can press F4, so it becomes absolute. Up next is column index number. You can see employee name comes in the second column, so we enter 2. And then it asks range lookup, whether you want approximate match or exact match. So in this case, I want an exact match because my data set is very small. So we just enter 0 and then close parenthesis. Now you hit enter, the formula has been applied, and now you can enter, say I want to look up for who is employee E12. Then I enter E12 and it shows its portion. You can also make it more convenient if you want to, let's say, select not every time enter E12, E13 like that. You can make a list out of this. So what you do, you go here and then you go to data tab in the ribbon bar and select data validation, and then here you select allow list, and now in source you select the entire employee ID column. Select it and then you click OK. And now a drop down button has appeared next to the employee ID. You can just click and make it easy. I'll make it more visible here. Okay. You can see according values appear when we click for different names, IDs. So now, since we have seen Vlookup, let's move to next Hlookup. Similarly, here let's say using the product name, we want to retrieve the product's code. So you select the two columns and then copy them and paste it somewhere near. And once again, you want to apply the Hlookup formula. Now, as earlier I said, to apply Hlookup formula, you have to mention the raw number. So we will see how differently it has been executed. You press the, you enter the formula is equal to Hlookup, opening parenthesis, and now you enter the cell reference. So it is F8, F17. So you enter F17. Again, it asks for table array. For ease and convenience, you select the entire table. And then it asks for raw index number. So we want to retrieve the product code. So its raw number is 1, 2. So we enter 2. And then again, it asks for approximate match and exact match. So since our data set is very small, let's go for exact match. Hit enter. And now you enter product name, let's say mobile. So you see the product code for mobile has appeared. You can also apply the same using data validation. You can make a list so that every time you don't have to enter, you just use the drop down button and click the values. Once again, let's move back to the presentation. So some of the common errors that may arise in Hlookup and Vlookup is that you may have noticed that the data that I had showed up in the tabular format was already arranged in an ascending order. So you don't encounter any errors like hashtag not applicable or hashtag reference error. So you make sure that the value in Vlookup, we know that it searches for the values in the first column. So you make sure that values are entered accordingly. And similarly in Hlookup, you ensure that the data has been arranged in an ascending order so that you don't get errors. Like since I was searching for exact match, I was entering 0. But if we wanted approximate match, then if you enter like let's say only 20 employees were there, if you enter E21 and enter approximate match, it will show for employee 20's data. So that was end of it. And some of the best practices, as I already said, sorting the data. You can sort the data in an ascending manner so that it's easy. Utilizing absolute references. Earlier I was only using relative references. You can apply absolute references using the F4 button after you have selected the table array. And validating lookup values. Always verify the lookup values you use. Any discrepancies in spelling or format. See, I was entering the spellings correctly. So if you enter for mobile MOB YLE, then it's going to show error. So you ensure these basic practices and you are good to go. Thank you, and if you have any queries and suggestions,
any query from the class? I think this presentation was really flawless and very good. Okay, thank you very much for giving a nice presentation.